welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. These are the weeks that were, are, and shall be. I have some more thank yous to begin here. I am thrilled to say that more people have chosen one of the books in the Adan trilogy to be one of their favorite reads of 2024. I mentioned a bunch of them on the last episode of the weeks that were, and I am just so honored and grateful that these people would have even read the Adan trilogy at all, but the fact that the books resonated with them to the point where they felt it deserved a spot in their end of year favorite video or something of that nature, I'm just so thrilled, really. And so big thank you to Britton from Some Okie Dude, and also Sam Harrison. Yeah, I think at this point it's okay if I spoil it, but in Sam's case, it was actually his favorite book of 2024, which I am just so stunned and humbled and incredibly honored. So thank you so much, Sam. That's incredible. I also want to mention with Jeremy Fee's selection of The Way of Adan as his favorite of 2024. That was a reread, and it wasn't just an ordinary reread. It was a reread with an audiobook. So he read the book initially when it came out and did a reread. And this is something that I think is really important to mention because Alan from the Library of Alexandria did the audiobook narration, which I've mentioned many a time. But in case you didn't know, one of my fellow booktubers and just a wonderful person. But he is an extremely talented actor, and he does the most wonderful voices. And I'm just so thrilled with his narration of The Way of Adan. And a testament to the quality of his narration is that Jeremy Fee chose The Way of Adan as his favorite book of 2024 on the basis of that audiobook narration. And I'm just so thrilled. And I have to give credit to Alan for that incredible narration. So that's a plug for the audiobook for sure. I have seen just every single review mentioning the quality of his narration. He's done such a tremendous job. I couldn't be more thrilled. And he's hard at work on The Prophet of Adan as we speak. So more to come. And then, of course, there was another video that came out. It wasn't an end of year thing so much as a video that Matt from Go Read Books made about he picked a few books that have, as he put it, left the deepest impact on him, on his life. And I was incredibly just bowled over by the fact that the Adan trilogy warranted a mention among those books for him. And the idea that my little story could have such an impact on a person in a positive way, this is why I'm here. This is why I wanted to write. This is what I wanted to do with my life. And for that to have happened is just such a tremendous thrill. With someone as kind and wonderful as Matt, as particularly, it makes me happy that the story spoke to him so strongly. He's been a great supporter of the Adan trilogy. And yeah, I'm just so thrilled that he would have thought that this story has had that kind of an effect on him in a good way. So thank you so much, Matt. And another little bit of news is the special edition is right around the corner. The special edition of The Way of Adan is going to be out very, very soon, and I could not be more excited for this. I can't wait to have it in my hands and to just lovingly gaze at it. I guess, I mean, most people would think we're crazy for lovingly gazing at books, but in this community, that is normal behavior, I believe, for many of us. But this is something that I've worked a long time for, and I couldn't be happier to have this dream taking shape in the real world, this vision that started in this little brain of mine back in 2004. And for it to be taking this shape is just so tremendous to me. So I'm excited, and I hope people will love the special edition. I mean, the Broken Binding, they do amazing work over there, and they're such wonderful people to work with. So yeah, I mean, it's nearly time, nearly time. And what have I been doing on the channel? Let's talk about that. So I did come out with a One Piece video, my thoughts on the Fishman Island saga. This was one that initially I started to read and thought, well, okay, you know, Oda's being a little on the nose here with these big social themes, but okay, let's see what he does. And by the time I got to the end of it, I thought, wow, this was such a tremendously effective exploration of some just very important things about oppression and hate and how to overcome those things and the complexity of forgiving and redemption and so much more. There's just how do we deal with oppression and hate, and how do we respond to it effectively? If we seek vengeance, what do we become? Do we become the thing that oppressed us in the first place, or a mirror reflection of it? How do we overcome that? And there's just so much really wonderful thematic exploration in this incredibly goofy, fun series. And I continue to love the character work. I love these characters, and it's an emotional experience as well. So I just had a grand time with this saga. And I'm excited to start reading the Dressrosa. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. Dressrosa saga. It's the next one. It looks like it's pretty long. It's got 2 arcs in it, I believe, and I may just do those separately. So each a video for each arc. Let's see how it goes. Usually my One Piece people out there give me great ideas. So let me know if you think that's a good idea to do the 2 videos for the Dressrosa saga. But I'm really excited to get into it because I think it's a favorite for a lot of people. It's one that I've heard of, and usually if it's one I've heard of, it's a fan favorite. So I believe that there are some people who really love this one, and we'll see what I think very soon. I finished reading Traitor's Knot, which is the 7th book in the Wars of Light and Shadow by Janny Wurts, the incredible Janny Wurts. And this is a series that is beginning to really get the recognition that it deserves. There's a big read-along going on that is being headed by John at Talking Story, and Brian from BellTube, and a whole bunch of other people have jumped in on that, and I'm so pleased about that. In the meantime, I'm continuing my own read-along with AP Canavan over at A Critical Dragon and Joanna. And the 2 of them, I think, are reading this right now. So I'm actually unusually ahead. So yay, I'm actually ahead of those 2. I'm usually the last one to get a book read when I'm in a buddy read. So I feel kind of a little, yeah, okay, I beat AP and Joanna. So, but anyway, I'll be waiting for them to finish, and then we'll have our discussion of Traitor's Knot. And I can't wait. It's just another incredible, deeply impactful, beautiful, sublime story by Johnny Wirtz. And we'll have plenty to say. I can't remember whose channel that's going to be on. I apologize for that. It's either Joanna's or AP's, I think, because I think I hosted the last one. So one of those 2. But I'll shout about it when the time comes. My current read is actually an SPFBO 10 finalist, a Spiff Box finalist, and that is Mushroom Blues by Adrian M. Gibson. I am not too far from finishing this. I'll probably finish this in the next day or 2. And I do intend to talk with my friend Sam over at Sam Harrison. And we'll have a discussion. I'm not sure who's hosting or what, but we had decided in advance that this was one that the 2 of us might discuss together because he's a member of my Spiff Box team, and he gave me one of the finalists, a really great finalist, in fact, and he thought this would be one that he'd want to read. So I may appear on his channel to discuss Mushroom Blues, but let's see. I'll shout about it when that happens, and I think he hasn't actually picked it up yet, so it might be a little while before the discussion happens. But I will have my own review forthcoming on Mushroom Blues. And after I finish that in a day or 2, I will be picking up The Unholy Consult. Yes, indeed. This is the final book, as it stands at least, in the Second Apocalypse series by R. Scott Baker. And I am eager to get to this. I am actually chomping at the bit to finish up the Second Apocalypse. And this is also, by the way, the last book in the second series in the Second Apocalypse, which is the Aspect Emperor series. So it's book 4 of Aspect Emperor, book 7 of Second Apocalypse. But yeah, this has been a tremendous read. You've heard me, if you've been following me and watching the weeks that were, you've heard me talk about R. Scott Baker's genius and the bleakness of his world. This has been a challenging read for me. It's been an incredibly provocative read for me. And I'm so glad I've read the series. I'm so glad that I've had this series. I will have it under my belt. And I do hope that R. Scott Baker is able to get to the final part of his story. I believe there's a third series, and I don't know how many books he intends to have within it. But initially, this was going to be a trilogy, with what became the Prince of Nothing trilogy being the first book initially, and then the second book was Aspect Emperor, which turned into 4 books. So he has a book 3, and I don't know how many books that will actually turn into if it ever is finished. But this is a complete series in and of itself, so as is the initial trilogy and this tetralogy, if that makes any sense at all. So yeah, but I'm excited to get to the final book there. And I forgot to mention on the channel as well, I had a wonderful time reading A Sword of Bronze and Ashes. In fact, I may have found a brand new favorite author here in Anna Smith Spark. I think she's just a glorious writer. I love how she experiments with her prose and the range that you find, the versatility that you see in this book. It starts off so beautifully. There's some just gorgeous description in here. And that can turn into, she is the Queen of Grimdark, so it can also turn very gut-wrenching and just blunt, and whatever the need of the moment is, she can do it. And I released a review on this, a non-spoiler review if you're curious to learn more, but just beautiful stuff, and it is steeped in Celtic myth. This book reminds me so much of the Mabinogion. That's the great Welsh medieval Arthurian and some but mythological collection of stories, but also the Irish invasion myths and the Ulster cycle reminds me very much of Celtic mythology in here, and I understand that is a big influence for Anna Smith Spark as well. But yeah, there's just this element in here that is just, there's a lot of ambiguity, let's put it that way. There's a lot of darkness and grittiness in here as well. And it is a beautiful story at the same time. It is a story of family. It is a story of marriage. It is a story of how the past can haunt you and come back, and how our self-narratives can be challenged by the people around us when we understand how they perceive us. It can be a bit of a jolt because that challenges our own ideas about ourselves sometimes, particularly if those people are friends turned foes and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's just a deep and beautiful and strange in the best possible way kind of story. I compared it to the A24 film, The Green Knight, actually, which if you've seen that film, I think it gives a similar vibe in a way to that. So yeah, and that is a film that I also enjoyed. It being based on one of my favorite medieval poems, Sir Gawain and the Green Knight in Middle English, which I've talked about on the channel before. So yeah, I had a great time with that. And what else have I been up to here? Well, I will be also, I need to mention, after I finish reading The Unholy Consult, I'll probably return to some more Spiffbox reads. And I don't know the order yet, but I'll figure that out, and I'll be shouting about it. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. But I do want to talk about what I've been up to elsewhere. On YouTube, I had the privilege and the delight of talking with my friend P.L. Stewart over on his channel. And I was there for a series he does. It's called 6 Elementals, where he interviews fellow authors. And just what a delightful human being P.L. is. And he has a wonderful story in the Drowned Kingdom. And by the way, his channel is called The Drowned Kingdom Saga. And I have read and reviewed A Drowned Kingdom. This is the first book in that saga. There are going to be 7 books in total. I believe that book 5 will be out this year. And I need to follow up and read books 2, 3, 4 and get caught up, because book 1 is tremendous. I have talked about it many a time, but I think that if you're looking for truly epic fantasy, this is a place to look, because it harkens in a way that is very rare to see to the classic epics, particularly the Aeneid for me. And I think he has a voice in this story that brings me to another world, that aids in the immersion that I think most of us fantasy readers crave when we get into a story. And he achieves that. And it's a rare thing these days, because a lot of writers will just adopt a more modern voice in their writing, whereas PL really gets you into this more archaic style, which evokes this other world in a way that I love. That is the kind of fantasy that I live for. And I'm excited to read more in his series. So this year, I do definitely hope to pick up book 2, The Last of the Atalanteans. And yeah, I'm excited for that. And also because he's just an incredibly wonderful person. And why not support somebody who is both talented and a good human being, right? What else am I up to? Well, I was in this is not on YouTube actually, but I did an interview with Shane, who does a series of interviews with authors, and it's called TBR Breaker. And I think he highlights especially indie authors like myself. But that was a lot of fun. And I included a community post about that if you're curious. So you just look in my community posts, and there'll be a link to that interview that I did with Shane, who's a great supporter, by the way, a tremendous supporter of indie authors. And he's somebody that I know primarily through X or Twitter, if you prefer. But yeah, he just all over supporting us indie authors, which I'm so grateful for. And upcoming, well, let's see, I will be in a cameo. I'll have a cameo in The Furies. Now, if you're not familiar with Josh's channel, Red Fury Books, I think you should head on over there. But Josh is just a wonderful, speaking of wonderful, how many wonderful people are there in this community, right? What is it about people who love to read that on average, let's say on average, they are just, I think, nicer people. Maybe I'm biased in that, but Josh is definitely one of the good ones. And his channel, Red Fury Books, every year has this the wonderful show on his favorites. It's like the Oscars, but for books, which is way better, in my opinion. And it's called The Furies. And I'm going to have a cameo there because I was privileged and honored to win his award, The Fury, for Best Self-Published Book that he read in 2023. And that was Return to Eden. And so I get to present. Josh told me I could say anything I want for this. So I get to present. I have a little cameo. Yeah, I will be telling folks which is his favorite self-published book of 2024. So be sure to check out that on Red Fury Books. Other things I'm up to. Well, real soon on this coming Monday, I will be participating in TBRCon. I will be actually moderating a panel that is going to be discussing how to write a good inciting incident, which is what really gets the story rolling. How to get the story going with a inciting incident. And there's some really brilliant authors who are going to be there with me. And I will share the thumbnail for that so you can see who they are. But come along and check it out. It'll be a live stream, but it also will be available afterwards. There are going to be a bunch of these panels for TBRCon, and I do encourage you to get into some of them because there are going to be some really great insights and some great authors and some great conversations. And so, yeah, I'm excited to be part of it. And I also will be appearing on Chris's channel, Bearded Book Beast. And I'll be having a chat with him, and I'll be shouting about that as we get closer to the date. I'll be chatting with the author and booktuber Joseph Carroll, another great fellow who I've had the privilege to interact with here. I have his books on my shelf back here, and I actually read and reviewed More Than a Vampire by Joseph. That was his first book. And I've got a couple others of his books. I really love his covers a lot. He's got great art on his covers. But yeah, that discussion will be happening, and I'll shout about that as well. And I'll be having a bunch of DDF episodes. So Dear Dr. Fantasy is coming on strong, and I'll be talking with Wera next. So look out for that. In fact, it's possible that as you're watching this, I will be chatting with Wera, but that video will be out pretty soon. And more episodes of DDF. I will be talking about them, talking them up as I get closer to them. More discussions elsewhere on other channels that I will be announcing as we get closer to the date. But yeah, I am pretty much staying out of mischief, mostly, and having a great time around here thanks to you guys. So that is it for me for now. Until next time.